Joker isn't just a cool, rebellious leader, he's a trauma victim, one who learned early that adults will always have the power to destroy you, even when you attempt to do the right thing. What we see in Persona 5, the composure, charm, calm in the chaos, that isn't confidence, it's conditioning. Joker's character is shaped by isolation, false accusations, and a world that told him he doesn't matter. Today, I'll be breaking down what Joker went through, the pain it caused him, as well as the real world life lessons that he represents. So sit back as I pull back the mask and show you what's really driving Joker from the inside out. One night, as Joker was walking home, he noticed a drunk man harassing a woman. Not wanting to be a bystander, he tries to do the right thing and stop the man, but that was his biggest mistake. He turns out to be Prime Minister candidate Masashi Shido, a powerful man who sues Joker and gets an assault charge on his record. This event is the route to Joker's trauma, rebellion, and composed nature. This is parallel to the many powerful individuals in the real world who aren't afraid to throw innocent people under the bus in order to save themselves. This definitely scared Joker, as he doesn't know what's going to happen to his life now that he has a criminal record. His whole life has essentially been turned upside down overnight. As a result, Joker learned that doing the right thing isn't always rewarded, that rotten adults will abuse their power for personal gain if they can. Not to mention the rumors floating around everywhere must have been extremely humiliating for Joker to overhear. As a result, this likely made him feel like people will always be quick to slap labels on him without digging deeper. Every time he walked by a hallway or corridor at his school, he had to constantly overhear others talking about him, students and faculty, which made him feel very self-conscious in his own school, like just his mere presence was a nuisance. So, what does he do as a result? Well, for one, he doesn't listen to the adults in his life. He's told not to get involved with Ryuji, he does anyway. He's told by Sojiro not to stick his nose into adult matters and even treats him like a criminal, despite knowing the true story behind what happened to him. If Sojiro had been more compassionate and understanding towards Joker, perhaps he would have felt more safe at LeBlanc and wouldn't have felt as bad about being labeled at school, since he knew at least he had a safe home with someone he knew he could trust and lean on. So what does Joker do as a result of this injustice? He forms a group of his peers called the Phantom Thieves in order to take down the hearts of rotten adults. Secondly, he rebels, but underneath that, he performs. His rebellious nature deep down is rooted in insecurity, trauma, and pain hidden from everyone else, including us, the player. Even the Phantom Thieves, the group he rides or dies with, none of them see the true pain that Joker's going through. They know the story, they know what he went through, but Joker hides just how much that event affected him. He does this through the rebellion and sharpness that all Persona fans know and love Joker for. However, what most Persona fans miss is that underneath that layer of cool, mysterious rebellion, a falsely accused teenager begging for someone to truly see him. He wears this mask not to deceive others, but to protect himself. Joker seems like this nonchalant, mysterious rebel, and to an extent, he is. But what people get wrong about him is what that persona, pun intended, is built off of. It's not sheer confidence, wit, and suave. We think that because Joker is good at hiding his wounds, he goes to school every day with his head up high and does palace infiltrations with the Phantom Thieves. This gives him his mysterious, rebellious, calm, and composed persona. However, if you look closer, there are signs that Joker is carrying a lot of unresolved trauma as a result of the Shido incident. He had his criminal record leaked to the entire school by Kamoshida, and was treated like an outsider by nearly everyone there. This no doubt did a number on Joker's mental health and made him feel reduced to a label and a story that no one likely questioned. Being labeled by your whole school, including the faculty, is a painful and traumatic thing for anyone to go through, and so his leadership, rebellion, and charm are defense mechanisms in order to get back at the adults and students who labeled him and treated him like an outsider. Anyone who's been labeled unfairly will really resonate with Joker because they know what it's like to be misunderstood and treated unfairly, because some adults decided that their reputation is more important than a child's privacy and autonomy. If you ever feel unfairly labeled or misunderstood, know it isn't your fault and that it's a reflection of other people's lack of self awareness and critical thinking ability. Being labeled is significantly more of a reflection of the person doing the labeling as opposed to the person being labeled. Joker is a powerful protagonist for a game like Persona 5. I know many teenagers can see themselves in Joker due to adults labeling teenagers without fully trying to understand them is a big problem in both Western and Japanese cultures. One of the most common examples I've seen in my own life experience is when someone is addicted to vices such as drugs and alcohol, people tend to slap labels such as degenerate, lowlife. This person won't amount to anything, and many other terrible things. However, what people fail to do is ask why. Why did this person turn to drugs and alcohol? What's going on in their life that they feel the need to escape through vices that make you forget? Let's take a second to think about what that's like from the perspective of the person going through it. They have all this pain, all this sorrow, all this hurt that they're suppressing through vices, and despite wanting help and being open to it, people just decide to label them and look the other way. It's a very isolating and lonely feeling. In my personal experience, growing up as a teenager in the West, I know I've had my fair share of being misunderstood, as well as seeing my peers go through the same. Some more of the most common examples of this in both the West and Japan are when parents assume their children are lazy, when they may in fact be depressed or emotionally struggling, which are things many parents in both Western and Japanese cultures tend to miss. Or if a teacher sees a student not turning in homework and slacking off in class, they automatically make assumptions. Problem child, defiant, no discipline. While failing to factor in things like the child's mental state, home life, and support system, all of which are huge factors which can severely impair a child's ability to perform at school. The Joker situation is simply a more extreme version of these harmful labels put on many Western and Japanese children. Joker's struggle to many represents harmful labels, unfair accusations, and being misunderstood by everyone around you. But what makes Joker special is that instead of sitting in the LeBlanc attic and crying about all the labels, he decides to get up and rebel against everything by forming the Phantom Thieves. Even outside the metaverse, a strong example of this quiet rebellion is in Sojiro's Confidant when Joker calls Sojiro's phone in order to give Sojiro an excuse to kick out a shady customer. At this point, Sojiro calls Joker out for sticking his nose into adult matters, but also thanks him for what he did. This reaction on Sojiro's part says a lot about him, but that's a topic for another day. Joker stepping in and helping Sojiro is an example of Joker's deep empathy that comes from knowing what it's like to be labeled and misunderstood. So if you're struggling with being misunderstood and unfairly labeled, ask yourself, what would Joker do? Would he sit in the LeBlanc attic and beat himself up? Or would he get up, take charge, and show everyone that he's not a criminal and that he's not a delinquent? Well, if you played Persona 5, you already know the answer to that. Joker's character shows us that we cannot judge others too quickly without critically thinking about their situation and forming a non-biased opinion. Not only does it display underdeveloped social skills, but it can be very traumatic and painful for the person you're labeling. Just like being falsely accused, then labeled a criminal by his whole school, and having his own life taken away from him, Traumatized Joker, labeling others by surface level observations as opposed to digging deeper into what's going on in this person's head, can be very harmful for them. If the students and faculty at Shujin would have talked to Joker and taken the time to understand him, they would have realized he was just a normal teenager in the wrong place at the wrong time, not a criminal who deserves to be labeled the way he was. And as a result, this traumatic event might have not been as bad for Joker. He would have at least felt that he had people he could turn to for help and support. So before you judge someone for how they are, ask yourself why. Why are they the way they are? Odds are there is a reason. We're all shaped by our environments and the people we surround ourselves with. Sometimes those things harm us in ways we don't want them to or don't realize, and that doesn't make them a bad person. It means they either made a mistake or there's something about this person's environment they cannot control. So if there's only one thing you take away from this video, let it be this. Before judging someone, find out the why. What is the root cause of this person's behavior and personality? And if you cannot answer that, you don't know them well enough to judge them. But what do you think? Do you agree with my analysis? Am I way off, or am I just straight up wrong? Feel free to send me a calling card in the comments below and let me know what other characters you'd like me to dissect and analyze. Thanks for watching, and until next time, signing off.